In an unguarded moment on a Himalayan mountainside, David Irvine-Halliday's life was endowed with purpose and direction. Apparently, he'd stuck his head into a village schoolhouse and saw children struggling to study in the dark. He went home and he developed a safe, efficient, environmentally friendly, and affordable lighting system for the millions of people who live off the power grid. David, where are you?
Thanks very much.
Can you have the lights out, please? Thank you very much. In order to appreciate light, you have to know what dark is. This is a 1 watt white light emitting diode, okay? 1 watt. And what Light Up the World's goal is, really, is just to replace kerosene. It's to bring the gift of light to the developing world. One of the things I ask people at times, do you know how big 2 billion is? It's a mind-boggling number. That's the reality. There's a third of humanity. We actually have the solution. Okay? I'm not saying it's the best, it's the perfect solution, but it's the only solution that's come to date, that an affordable solution for these 2 billion people. What are we? Okay? Light Up the World, we're a non-profit humanitarian organization. We're a facilitator of knowledge. That's our function in life. It's to plant a seed, nurture it, and move on. In other words, to give the knowledge to people to make their own lighting systems, create their own companies, and sell these things at a fair profit. Because if you don't make a profit, you're not going to be sustainable. And if you're not sustainable, forget it. Okay? Again, it's just an interesting exercise. And literacy, especially for women and female children, it's not that we're biased against men, far from it. It's just that we're kind of biased for women. A creator of local wealth and companies. I hope to show you by the time I'm finished that in actual fact, by converting from kerosene or candles over to solid-state lighting, you create wealth. You really have more money, or you have more money left. These white LEDs we talked about, and you've seen them, in your little headlamps, keychains, etc. They're all over the place now, thank God. But the very low power consumption, incredibly long life, and we've tested these things. They really do work. They're physically robust. We've dropped our lamps, like this little guy, five floors onto concrete. It was actually a mistake the first time, and when we realized it didn't actually break, we tried it again. So, reliable and safe. Kerosene is terrible. This is the Rolls Royce of kerosene wick lamps. The light that you get from these it's approximately equivalent to what you get from a wee candle on a kid's birthday cake. Okay? And it gives a heck of a lot of smoke at the same time. I won't bother you too much with lots of detail, but just look at the red. Okay? I mean, I didn't make up that statistic, but that's the kind of environment that many, and I mean like 90% or so, of these 2 billion people live every day of their lives. If you take a 100-watt bulb, burn it for 10 hours, the total amount of light you get, that's about how much light the average home would get in a whole year in the developing world. And it also turns out that when you take an average over the whole world, that poor people actually pay around $100 US a year for lighting, and they get less, they get about 0.2% of the light that we get when we spend $100 US. That's what our kind of first lamps look like. Each one of these wee bulbs there, which is actually just one of these little guys, we call it a 0.1 watt diode. So if you get 9 of them, we just call it a 1 watt lamp. Okay? We've used water as a 200 watt system. Okay? A 200 watt, we lit a village of 37 homes, and each home had 3 1 watt lamps, and it's terrific. The actual generator was made in Nepal. A Ghatta, it's kind of a grinding mill for grinding grain. If you replace the wooden turbines with the metal one, you get about twice as much energy approximately. So what you can then do is put a little electric generator on the top, so the the lady that owns the mill, she can actually grind more grain in a given day, but also at night, because the water runs 24 hours a day, you collect the whole village. Kids reading, that's our kind of raison d'etre. It was literacy, but it's much, much more than that now. The Sister Regina, she was treating Ali, the big guy on the right there. He'd hurt his leg, and I asked if I could have a look at the theatre. There are 7 100-watt bulbs. That's about 680 of heat and about 20 of light, and it's 46 degrees Celsius plus outside. We just screwed 6 of our wee 1-watt lamps together and shone on the table and said to her, "What do you think?" She says, "You know, Dave, I could do 95+% of all my operations with just that little thing you've put together in 2 minutes." This is a slide that brings a lot of emotion to both Jenny and I, because the fellow on the right, he's Master Sattar. He's the school teacher. Just to show you how, sorry, how one lamp, two lamps can actually change people's lives. We gave the guy in the blue 4 lamps about a year before. Zubair is his name, a good friend of ours now, and he gave 2 to Master Sattar. That's his house. He put 1 lamp here and 1 lamp there. Every night, he has 12 male children and 9 female children in, because they do go to school. And he said in the 6 months that these lamps had been there, that's just 2 watts, okay? The academic progress of these children, he said, had been absolutely startling. Anyway, this is a typical system that we use, okay? We've used water, we've played around with wind a lot. We haven't actually done a village with wind. And we've got lots of solar. Here's one of our 1-watt lamps. It's the lamp that I just showed you, basically. And the reason I gave you this shot with our little friend in the foreground is because it's a little friend in the foreground, along with the little piglets and the chickens, as well as the human kids, that knock over these kerosene wick lamps and cause fires and death and destruction. And believe you me, it happens hundreds of thousands of times throughout the developing world. So, if for no other reason than that, solid-state lighting is a good way to go, but there's a lot more reasons than that. Fluorescent tubes are still more efficient at the big ones, but we're going to blow them out of the water in the next 2 while, and you don't get a 1-watt fluorescent tube that's much good, and it doesn't live like 100,000 hours. That's the 1-watt one. The little yellow one shows you where the incandescent flashlight dies, 3D cells. The blue one shows you, if you replace that incandescent bulb, with an LED bulb, you get 10 or 20 times the life of that battery. Think of what that does to the environment. Think of what it does to the economy. It's a wealth creator. This is, I think, says it all. The yellow is the annual kerosene expenditure in Pakistan. We could show you a million examples. The blue is the one-time cost. Okay, remember I said you need microcredit to pay for it. But having said that, think of how much money they can save. I'm not a social scientist, far from it, but even my tiny brain can appreciate that has to have an immense effect on society, that you're not spending money on kerosene. We need your ideas, okay? There's an enormous capacity for ideas in this room and in Canada and the United States, etc. We need all the help we can get. And I'm not speaking about asking for money. We just need people to give us ideas, to introduce us so that we can get on with our job, because we're a very small organization. But remember, I said, we're seed planters, okay? We don't light up the world. We cannot light up the world, and we don't want to light up the world physically ourselves. We want the world to light itself up. Okay, thank you very much.